There is a fox that knows your house better than most of your neighbors do. Not in a vague sense. Not poetry. Literally. If a fox passes through your garden regularly, and one almost certainly does, it has been conducting a detailed study of your property, your schedule, your habits, your patterns of movement, the specific times you open your back door, the corner of the garden you never walk to, the window you always pass on your way to the kitchen at the same time every morning. It has been building a picture of you, quietly, systematically, and it started long before you ever noticed it. Most people think of foxes as opportunists, animals that wander through, grab what they can, and disappear. That picture is wrong. What foxes actually do is far more deliberate, far more intelligent, and far more unsettling once you understand it. Welcome to Garden Wildlife Mind. Subscribe if you're new here, because what you are about to learn will change the way you look at your garden fence at dusk. Today we are going into exactly what a fox does when it encounters your property for the first time, how it builds knowledge about you over weeks and months, and the specific things it is studying that you almost certainly never thought to consider. Stay with me, especially for Chapter 3, because that chapter explains something that researchers only recently confirmed, and it will completely change how you think about foxes. The first thing to understand is that when a fox enters your garden for the first time, it is not looking for food. It is looking for information. Watch footage of a fox on a first approach to new territory, and the behavior is immediately distinctive. The animal does not move toward the obvious food sources. It moves around the perimeter. It pauses at specific points. It lifts its head and tests the air repeatedly. It checks exits. It identifies elevated positions, cover locations, open sight lines. It is constructing, in remarkable detail, a spatial map of this new environment. Researchers studying urban fox behavior have documented what they call a survey phase, the period during which a fox encountering new territory builds a foundational knowledge of the space before it begins to use that space for foraging or denning. This phase can take several visits, sometimes a week or more. The fox will enter the garden, move through it in a specific pattern, and leave without touching a single piece of food, even if food is visibly present. Because food is not what it came for, information is what it came for. What the fox is mapping in those early visits, the geometry of the space, where exits are and how many there are, where cover is dense enough to retreat to if something goes wrong, where sight lines are long enough to give advance warning of approach, where the smells of other animals, dogs, cats, humans, are concentrated and where they are absent. Your garden is being read the way you might read a room before deciding whether to sit down in it. The fox is deciding whether this place is safe enough, productive enough, and navigable enough to become part of its regular route. That decision is not made on the first visit. And the survey does not stop once the fox starts using the space. It continues, because the most useful information the fox can gather is not about the garden itself, it is about you. A fox that has decided your garden is worth using has not made that decision based on one observation. It has made it based on many. And the most significant thing it has been observing is not your garden. It is your routine. Foxes operating in suburban environments show behavior that researchers describe as schedule sensitive. They do not visit random properties at random times. They visit specific properties at specific times, and those times correlate with patterns in human activity at those properties. The fox that appears at your garden gate at 7:15 in the evening is not there by coincidence. It has learned that 7:15, on most evenings, is a predictable window in your pattern of movement that makes your garden accessible. Here is what a fox can learn about your house in a matter of weeks. It knows roughly when you leave in the morning. It knows roughly when you return. It knows which evenings you spend time in the garden and which evenings you do not. It knows whether you have a dog and, if you do, the approximate schedule of that dog's outdoor time. It knows which areas of your property are never disturbed. It knows where activity concentrates and where it is absent. None of this requires the fox to watch you directly. Foxes read this information through scent trails, through the residual patterns of human activity that linger in a space long after the human has gone. through the auditory profile of a house. Which sounds occur at which times, when footsteps are heard, when doors open, when the property goes quiet. The fox has built a functional portrait of your household, not a conscious one, not one the fox could articulate, but a working model, a set of learned associations that tells it this property at this time in these conditions is safe to approach. What surprises most people when they learn this is that the fox's model of them is often more accurate than they expect. You have a routine. You believe it varies. The fox knows it does not vary as much as you think. The small consistencies that you barely notice, the window you open at the same time each morning, the path you walk to the bin on the same evening each week, the lights that come on in the same sequence each night. These are the data points the fox has been collecting. It has memorized your house, and it did so long before you ever saw it in your garden. Every time a fox approaches your property, it is running an active risk assessment, and what it is assessing is more specific than most people realize. Foxes pay particular attention to 3 things about a property and the humans associated with it. The first is light patterns. The second is door behavior. The third is what researchers call response consistency, the predictability of how the humans in a property react to disturbance. Light patterns first. Foxes in suburban environments show clear associations between interior lighting patterns and human activity levels. A property where lights are on in multiple rooms is a property with active human presence. A property where lights have gone off in sequence. The way lights turn off when someone moves from room to room heading toward bed is a property moving toward inactivity. Foxes learn the lighting signature of specific houses. They adjust their approach times accordingly. Door behavior is perhaps even more informative. The frequency with which doors open, the times they open, the duration they stay open. All of this is legible to a fox monitoring a property over time. A back door that opens briefly at the same time each morning tells the fox about a feeding schedule, about a dog routine, about the pace of human activity inside that house. A door that stays shut all evening tells a different story. Response consistency is the third and most revealing thing. This is the detail researchers confirmed relatively recently, and it is the one that changes how you think about foxes entirely. Foxes distinguish between humans who react consistently to their presence and humans who do not. A person who always chases the fox away from the garden trains the fox to stay away from that garden when that person is present. A person who sometimes chases and sometimes ignores, or never notices, trains the fox toward a different strategy entirely. It learns that this particular human is an inconsistent threat, and inconsistent threats are, from a fox's perspective, manageable. The fox has assessed your response consistency, it has categorized you, and it has adjusted its behavior in your garden accordingly. What this means in practice is something most garden owners find surprising when they first hear it. The foxes most comfortable in a garden are not there despite the humans who live there. They are there partly because of the specific pattern of human behavior in that garden. The way you have moved through your space, responded or not responded, been predictable or unpredictable, all of it has been read and factored into the fox's decision about how and when to use your property. There is one more layer to what the fox is studying, and it is not about you. It is about the other foxes. When a fox moves through your garden, it is not only gathering information about the space and the humans in it, it is depositing information for other foxes to read. Scent marking along boundaries, around food sources, at specific navigational points, this is a communication system. The scent marks your fox leaves in your garden are messages to other foxes about territory status, about the individual fox's identity, age, and reproductive condition, and about how recently and how often this space has been used. Your garden, if foxes pass through it regularly, contains an ongoing written record of fox activity that every fox in the area can read. Who has been here? How recently? How dominant? Whether the territory is actively claimed or lightly used, whether this space is contested or settled. What this means for you is that the fox behavior you observe in your garden is not just about your individual garden. It is part of a much larger territorial picture playing out across your entire neighborhood. The fox that regularly uses your space has staked a claim that other foxes respect or contest. The density of fox marking in your garden tells you something precise about the pressure and competition in your local fox population. If you have a garden that foxes visit consistently, it is not an accident. Your garden occupies a particular position in the local fox territorial map. Something about its resources, its location, its navigational value, or its human activity pattern has made it a consistent part of one or more fox home ranges. You did not invite this, but you enabled it. Through the resources you provide, even unintentionally, through the patterns of activity that make your space predictable and therefore navigable, you have become part of the calculation, and the fox, watching from the fence line at dusk, knows your part of the calculation better than you do. There is something worth sitting with here. The fox watching your house from the field edge or the fence line is not an animal operating on simple hunger. It is an animal that has done its research. That has read the light patterns of your windows, learned the timing of your movements, assessed your response consistency, and built a working model of your household that it updates every time it passes through. It chose your garden, not randomly, based on evidence. If you want to understand the foxes using your space, the most useful thing you can do is to start paying attention to your own patterns, not the patterns you think you have, the patterns you actually have. The small consistencies of daily life that you barely register, but that an animal with no distractions and very good senses has been carefully cataloging. The window you open at the same time, the door that goes at the same moment each evening, the bin night that falls on the same day each week, the corner of the garden that you never walk to. These are the data points the fox has been working with. These are the details that made your house readable. The fox at your fence line at dusk is not a threat. It is not a pest. It is one of the most behaviorally sophisticated animals in the suburban landscape, running a continuous and highly accurate intelligence operation on the properties in its home range. Your house is in that home range. Your patterns are in its memory. And on a quiet evening when you catch it watching from the fence, still alert, holding your gaze for just a moment before it slips away, understand that it is not seeing you for the first time. It has known you for months. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed a fox watching your house from a fixed position? Did it feel like it was studying you? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.